Vice President Kamala Harris looks to be a shoo-in for the Democratic nomination, following Joe Biden's dramatic exit from the race. But many commentators are saying Kamala Harris is no better than Joe Biden when her litany of fumbles, mumbles and gaffes are examined. Sky News All Stars Rita Panahi, Danica, Georgio and Megyn Kelly take a look at Kamala's cringiest moments. Kamala Harris may well be an election away from being the leader of the free world. But instead of knuckling down and getting serious, the Veep is as cringy as ever.
It is so good to hear our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day. You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us. And we do, everybody here does.
It's mutual.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe. Oh.
Sky News All-Star Rita Panahi blasted Kamala Harris for her incompetence and idiocy.
Yes, that's Kamala Harris, the inept, radically left and wildly unpopular vice president who is now being presented as the Democrats' great hope. The woman who has not won a single presidential primary. A Californian from San Francisco with a voting record in the Senate that is radically left. She's disliked by her own, let alone the average American. And pollsters, including Matt Towery, are already laying bare how unpopular Kamala is in the crucial swing states. The polling shows she's even less popular than Biden among independents in those swing states. Indeed, across America, Kamala has proven to be less popular than the least popular president of our time. She has consistently lied to the American people about Biden's cognitive decline, and millions of Americans gave their primary vote to Biden. Their votes mean nothing tonight.
She also goes on to slam the Democrats for threatening democracy, despite labeling Donald Trump as a threat to democracy.
And millions of Americans gave their primary vote to Biden. Their votes mean nothing tonight. The Democrats have shown again and again, though they bleat endlessly about threats to democracy, they care little about democracy. They have weaponized the justice system to try to imprison their chief political rival. And now they're going to ignore the votes of 14 million Americans who voted for Biden in the Democratic primary. And they'll install Kamala as the candidate.
Sky News contributor Megyn Kelly agrees, saying Kamala Harris is a fool and she won't win the popular vote.
I'm sorry to be ad hominem, but she's a fool. She's not a smart person. If you listen to her, as I have now for so many years, you glean that she is faking it. She thinks she's Oprah with her attempts at profundity that never land. We will be unburdened by what has been. It's her only line. She says it all the time. Her other line is about Venn diagrams, which is equally stupid. And her attempt to take complex topics and reduce them down into small, digestible bits is the most offensive to me, because that happens to be what I do for a living, what you, Paul, do for a living. And it does actually take some skill and some research and some knowledge. You have to learn it forward and backward before you can explain it in a very easy to understand way to your audience. She doesn't get it. It doesn't require speaking to people like they're four, but that's her level of communication. So that person's not going to be the first female president. It's not going to happen. I would bet everything I have on it. The only way it's happening is the Democrat machine. And let's face it, some potential shenanigans at the voter box. You know, last time around, you don't have to believe that they switched votes like with Dominion or Smartmatic to believe that there was cheating. Just look what they did in Pennsylvania, where they changed the rules and you can do all this mail-in balloting for a month beforehand, which we had never had before. Who's receiving those votes? Who's accepting those votes? Those votes can be received even if they weren't postmarked by election day. That's one way we know they manipulated the last election, and they're really good at it. So that's her best shot, but the overwhelming odds are against her.
And in the lead up to the Democratic convention, Sky News All-Star Danica Georgio has exposed Kamala Harris's cringiest moments.
Now it's time for lefties losing it, starting with the bumbling, bizarre, broken record, Kamala Harris, and her strange and quite frankly abnormal obsession with repeating the same lines over and over and over and over.
This is going to be a humbling thing I'm about to share with you. If someone is 18 years old today, they were born in 2005.
I love Gen Z.
I love Gen Z. It will be a humbling moment for some of us to realize that anyone who is 18 now was born in 2005.
I love Gen Z. I love Gen Z. So think about this. Okay, first of all, it's going to be humbling for many of us when you remember or realize that someone who is 18 now was born in 2005.
I have to tell you, I love Gen Z. Yes, I know, but I love Gen Z. And it will be a humbling fact to many of us when we realize that anyone who is 18 today, they were born in 2005.
My humble apologies to Gen Z and anyone born in 2005. And even more apologies to Americans who could soon be burdened by what might be.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know?
What can be unburdened by what has been.
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 What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be unburdened by who we have been.
Even the same arm every time. Can someone please unburden me from the shackles of that video?
And Rita Panahi added to the Cringe Fest.
And it's the wildly unpopular and incompetent Kamala Harris who is right now seen as their best chance. Yes, this woman.
We all watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But just limited to what we have seen.
She highlighted Kamala's ineptitude when it comes to foreign policy.
And don't ever have Kamala try to explain international conflicts.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
That's wrong, yes it is. And by the way, she was speaking to adults there. It wasn't some discussion with fourth graders.
And she also mocked the VP's pronoun obsession.
At least she didn't tell them her, I don't know, pronouns.
Good afternoon. I want to welcome these leaders for coming in to have this very important discussion about some of the most pressing issues of our time. I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit.
And Rita Panahi then went on to expose Kamala Harris's dire debating skills, which have hopefully improved if she's going to go head-to-head with Donald Trump.
And if you're wondering why she's never won a presidential primary, well, here's a reminder.
Vice President have a point there?
Some things you can, many things you can't.
Let's let the senator answer.
Well, I mean, I would just say, hey, Joe, instead of saying no, we can't, let's say yes, we can.
Let's be constitutional. We got a constitution.
And yes, we can, because he reminds me of that guy in The Wizard of Oz, you know, when you pull back the curtain, it's a really small dude.
Okay.
And who can forget this golden moment when Tulsi Gabbard demolished Kamala and her rotten record?
Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
And Danica de Georgio mocked Kamala Harris's obsession with time travel.
Now to Kamala's part-time obsession with time travel.
To see the moment in time in which we exist. During Women's History Month, we celebrate and we honor the women who made history, the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time. It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
You know, this time travel thing has really got me into a spin.
Sky News All-Star Alex Stein controversially believes even people on the left don't want a female president.
You know, Rita, I want to be like Vivek, and I want to be honest. Even people on the left, I feel, are a little misogynistic. And I know that sounds crazy, but I do believe people even on the left are not going to want a woman president. I don't think people mind having a woman vice president, but I think, you know, a lot of gay men are... What, is that crazy to say that? A lot of people are not going to want a female president. It's like one of the reasons why...
crazy.
Well, but Hillary Clinton that's the reason
crazy.
Why... Well, what, that I think that people don't want a female president?
So unlikable.
Yeah,
I think if they put up a female who was actually accomplished and likable and electable, she would have won. But they put up Hillary and now they've got Kamala. It's like they're determined to make the female presidential candidates fail.
Well, they have to kind of cheat, you know. She's going to be the president by default because of all of Joe Biden's work. Listen, you're right. If a woman was capable, she could be president.
Pakistan's elected a woman. You know, they elected a woman decades ago in the UK as leader. I'm sure Americans are ready, but for the right woman. They're not just going to vote for anybody.
But despite Kamala's cringe antics, one poll has bucked the trend and is showing promising signs for the VP. But Republican strategist John Jordan says this is just an outlier.
Well, Kamala Harris, she's only been campaigning for 24 hours now, at least officially, for president. And already a Reuters Ipsos poll has her in front of Donald Trump. Joining us live now is the Republican strategist John Jordan. John, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So with RFK Jr.'s votes, that gap potentially extends. Now, long way to go. And the Dems are getting a sugar hit at the moment, but are you worried about it?
No, let's look at those 5 other polls that are also taken in the last week, and the other 5 all showed Trump with a 2 to 6 point advantage. This is the only one in the last week which shows an advantage for Kamala Harris, and Reuters Ipsos has historically not been very accurate predictively. So it's getting a lot of attention in the media, but if you look at realclearpolitics.com, which is a compendium of all of polls, you'll see that this is an outlier.
She has broken a fundraising record already, though. You've got in excess of $100 million in just a day. At the very least, you've got a fight on your hands now that you don't have Biden as an opponent, right?
No, you always had a fight. Look, you're taking on the Democrat establishment, and the Democrat Party is always going to have enough money to run its race and get its message out. And Donald Trump is equally going to have enough message to run his campaign. Neither side is going to beat the other one because of money in this case. Both sides are going to be able to saturate the airwaves and do everything they want to do. So, you know, it remains to be seen how it all unfolds. But you look at Donald Trump's favorability in all of the issues that matter, inflation, border, national security. He's got well into the double-digit leads on both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I realize the media wants to make this a horse race, but nothing fundamentally has changed. Even the New York Times, which is a liberal, most liberal news outlet in the United States, says that as well.